but they arguably ended up losing to the better team, which is third on my list, which is Sidney Crosby. I believe that he is only Ovi and Yager are above him for me. He's likely going to finish his career really well. I think the only thing that's held him back is concussion injuries, and he's lost significant time in the last few years. Just, prime time in his career. He might be the best player within the last 15 years. I don't know, and that pains me to say because I'm not really a Crosby fan.
Yeah. I'm just gonna go ahead and tie my 4 and 5 together because I have Ovi above Crosby. Just because of personal preference. Because I'm not a Crosby fan either, but I am.
But he has to be there. You can't deny it.
Can't deny him being there. I had been rooting for Ovi and them to win the cup when they were in the playoffs and everything, but Ovi and Crosby are great players. I like this. This list is
it's that what if list, like the what if. But the one thing that I looked up that just totally baffles me is Crosby is currently scoring 1.33 points per game, which ranks him 5th all time behind Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Mike Bossy, Bobby Orr. That is impressive. And I mean, the kid, he's still a kid. I mean, he's a 2-time MVP, 2-time scoring champ, 2-time Stanley Cup champ. Conn Smythe winner is the playoff MVP. He's got 2 gold medals, and he's an overall great player. I do think though that injuries, like I said, have played a part in him missing a lot of his career. That he could have been producing more.
Yeah. I do believe that this list, altogether, these guys are shoo-ins.
Oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, Datsuk, Thornton, Ovechkin, Yager, Crosby. They're no doubt about it. First, I would say first ballot Hall of Famers. The only one that I don't know would be Thornton. Yeah. I would think that maybe it might take him a few years.
Yeah, and it's just being, I don't know, and the voters. I don't really know how voting is. It similar to like the NFL where they have like a conglomerate of people that just vote. I feel like I don't know. I feel like it. I don't know. Because if it were people, I feel like Thornton may not
make it.
But if it's a group of people, I feel like, if not the first year, then the next year he'd probably get in there. Honestly, it would be a shame to not.
Oh, it would. I mean, it would at all, and I don't know. I just think. I think he makes it. I think he deserves it. He's been a top caliber player for so long. He has to make it.
Yeah.
I don't know, but I mean that's our top 5. So, who's one player you had maybe missing the list?
Out of all of the outsiders and kind of maybes. I mean, out of the 3. I would say Zdeno Chara is like at the bottom of the 3.
Yeah, and I think that is a lot because he got a lot of flack in his earlier in his career. He didn't hit it off with Ottawa. He got that trade to Boston where he flourished and became who he is. I mean, he has a Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
He has a Norris Cup. He's got those checked off in his career box. He spent a lot of years as a shutdown defenseman for the NHL. He did. There's just no way around it. And he's feared. Well, he's also feared because he's 7 foot tall, And I mean, I think that, and this is things people don't really realize. That's a feat all in itself. Being 7 foot tall and being able to play a sport, but still like this, where you're on ice and you're on thin blades, and you're still nimble and quick to go and still be able to go, play. I mean, I'm not saying he's quick, but
yeah, and it's not like it's a joke or he's just out there to get publicity for Ottawa or Boston. He's a solid player. He's not a terrible player. He's not the most amazing defenseman that has ever played, but he's a good player. I agree. It's like I would want him on my team if he was I don't know, 10 years younger than he is right now.
I had one of mine. Which if we were doing top 3, I would have Zdeno Chara. My second, I don't like to say it because he is a Blackhawk, but I had Duncan Keith.
Yeah,
and I had Duncan Keith because I think he could sneak in. He would not be first ballot.
No,
it might take him a few years.
I agree,
but with his resume that he has, with 2 Norris trophies, a Conn Smythe, 3 cups, and 2 gold medals. He's a winner, and he has won. But he's also been very, very lucky to be on a team with Kane and Taves and have a goaltender like Crawford.
Yeah,
he's been lucky enough to do that. But
being a defenseman when you're surrounded by a core group of guys who can boost your plus minus and help you win games essentially, and vice versa, being a good defenseman, you're helping your forwards win games. And I feel like at the very least, like Duncan Keith was my, just going top to bottom, least likely to make it. He was above Zdeno Chara for me. He is a good defenseman, but being surrounded by a group of guys who can do that for you.
Well, yeah, and I think this year is an attest to that, where they've let in way too many power play goals.
Yeah. Way
too many shorthanded goals. And you're only as good as the team around you. But when you're that accomplished, I mean, maybe he's having a rough start to the year, albeit what it is, but that you're supposed to be that team's top defenseman.
Yeah, and I think it also has something to do with maybe it's the mindset of the last 3, 4, 5 years of having the solid core of forwards that are producing so well and doing half of your job for you so you don't have to struggle so much as a defenseman. When you're winning an abundant amount of games and you're winning cups, I feel like that mindset, it has to change when you're going into a completely different season with
it's just
almost
like
a completely group of guys. Group of guys.
It's like, no one worries about anything when you're winning.
Right.
That's basically what it is. So no one thinks about it, and they won so much that those guys were like, "No, I'm about to get paid." And there's a few guys there, even some young guys like Tara Vinen, who they had to let go. Bickle, who unfortunately for Bickle, I just wanted to bring that up, is now dealing with MS, and it looks like his career will be over. And that's just super sad to see. Like, I know he was a Blackhawk and all that, but I just don't want to see somebody dealing with muscular sclerosis like that. It's such a debilitating disease. But anyways, I'm sorry to get off track.
No worries.
I just think that with where they are now, him being a little older, it's a challenge for him to keep that up. So he was number 2 on my list, or number 3, tied 3 to. I think him and Zdeno Chara were the same for me, but I'm pretty sure our number 1 is the same.
Yeah,
I'm pretty sure we go with Jarome Iginla.
Yes, yeah.
He is a 600 goal scorer, multiple Olympic gold medals. He's a no-brainer
for a dude that isn't really doesn't have a really he's not over popularized because he's an older player.
But I was almost figuring. I was a huge Iginla fan. And when he got traded from the Flames, I thought his career was over. I mean, he was still young, but I was like, oh man, what are they going to do? And then he ends up in Boston, he ends up in Pittsburgh, and now in Colorado. Like, he's like Yager, though.
Yeah.
He's that older player that keeps on trucking, but is still producing. His numbers are still there.
The dude has, with all, like, this list of top 5, like, he kind of gets buried underneath
he
those
does,
guys.
yeah.
Definitely. He has Hall of Fame type numbers from what he has produced in his whole career. I feel like there's no doubt in my mind that he's going to make it. It's kind of like he fits in the same boat for me with Thornton. As far as like maybe not quite being a first ballot kind of guy, just because he's not a Crosby or an Ovechkin, but his numbers are astounding.
But, and here's the thing, and it goes back to just the whole kind of, like the time of where hockey is now. Early 2000s, he was Crosby, Ovechkin. You know, he was part of that whole conversation. Like, he was one of the best players at the time. And I mean, they also put in like Ryan Smith, and you also had Jaromir Jagr. You were still considering him one of the best. And he was that, and people forget about him just because there's so much going on nowadays with younger players.
Yeah.
And you forget about those old school players who produced so much, but maybe they're not producing to what they once were when they were 25, 26.
Oh, yeah, of course.
But they're still there.
Yeah, that's going to happen with like any career when you've been playing it your whole friggin' life.
Yeah, it is. That's that, and I think that was a pretty good list for us.
Yeah, that was a great list. That was fantastic. So I think now we're just gonna talk about who are the leaders of the league right now. In points, this is going to be really funny for me to say, but the Jets have the league leader in points and goals right now. And in points, you got Mark Scheifele from the Jets with 20 points, and the league average is 4.8. So he's up there in points right now. He's destroying. And so is Patrick Laine.
The kid is catching on, man.
He has 11 goals in the league average right now, which I mean doesn't really astound me or confuse me in any way. But the league average is 1.8.
But I mean the Jets, they're also they're second in the division. They're 8-7-2.
Yeah.
They're, for what people thought that team was gonna be. People thought they were going to be good. It's too early to call a rookie of the year, but everybody was like, "Oh, it's Matthews. It's going to be Matthews." Yeah. But Laine, man, he's in it, and he's no joke.
One game doesn't make you rookie of the year.
No, and
sorry,
and you're right, and he's right up there too with league leaders in goals.
Yeah, not taking away from Matthews' game or Matthews' play and skill. That was an amazing game.
Yeah. There's not a plural there.
Yeah.
So,
all right. Moving on into assists and plus minus. At the top of assists, you have Connor McDavid with 14. And in that, the league average is 3. So he's doing really well.
It doesn't surprise me. Connor McDavid being that captain, being that guy that he's that team player.
Yeah.
He's literally and maybe not to a point, maybe not overall, but he will be at least the Oilers' next Gretzky. He's that captain that they need. He's that team player, and he's going to push that team, and it shows for him having 14.
Yeah, I mean that's an amazing number, and that just goes to show that he's creating chances for his team.
He's not,
and not just being a guy that's just going in there and trying to shoot all of the time.
Well, I think that goes back to the whole. I think, and I'm not saying it is, but everybody says the same thing about Ovechkin. Like when TJ Oshie got traded to Washington, everybody's like, well, TJ's job's just going to be defeated to Ovechkin.